Hey there, everybody. Welcome to our Lucifer Season 5, Episode 8 mid-season finale reaction. Obviously, huge spoilers within this video.
Huge.
More significant than we could ever state with our words. If you have not watched the first 8 episodes of Season 5, stop now or just be spoiled. We're going to get into all of it, including that big ending, but before we do, if you guys like this video, give us a like, subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell. Also, check the link in the description to the store because we have shirts, mugs, other cool stuff there, and also check out our Patreon where we have live chats last Sunday of every month and some other cool stuff over there as well.
So overall with this finale, it almost feels like it's two parts. There's the beginning part where we all figured out that Pete was actually the Whisperer Killer pretty early on in that episode. And then there was the second half where it was all about the family.
Okay, I'm of a lot of different minds about this finale, and really in general, a lot of Season 5, because I love a lot of Season 5, and I love a lot of elements that are here in the finale, but the Pete as the killer part of it was just so insanely obvious. Maybe it's because I have seen a lot of Dexter, ironically also starring Amy Garcia. I think I could sort of just telegraph easily where that was going, and I'm sure they probably knew that people would as well. It's just like, I want to have nice things.
I just didn't want it to feel as predictable as it was, where they were standing outside the house and the things he was saying. I was like, okay, he's clearly the killer at this point. And I would have thought she would have been able to kind of pick up on that a little bit more, since she is someone who pulls in these bad boys. She's obviously working for the police. Like, it was just so obvious.
Yeah, and it also, I think this character in his pre-killer form, he just endeared himself to me because he was speaking Klingon, he was nerd, he was caring. I didn't want him to be this way, and then of course inevitably he was. It did produce some good drama, some good scenes after the fact. All that like flower room was incredibly creepy.
I think the thing I was surprised about that they went this way is that this show, for me, does things that are more unexpected, because they do have a supernatural element. They can do things in a different way, and they typically don't lean into stuff that we've seen before. So since this is something we've seen many times before, I was actually surprised that that's where they went to go with this. When I was just like, and they were having that talk, I was like, oh no, wait a second, we can't be going in this way. This is Lucifer. Lucifer doesn't do this.
I will say that as kind of predictable and easy to spot as this was, it was woven into everything, I think, with Lucifer himself in a really fun and interesting way, where he spends like the whole start of this finale being like, okay, this Whisper Killer, whoever the real one is, they've got Chloe. I need to actually just be Detective Morningstar and figure this out and not rely on my usual bag of tricks. I thought the way that was connected to Michael was really fascinating.
And I loved the way that was connected to Chloe, because she's really worried about him, not opening up anymore, not being vulnerable to her anymore. But the fact that he was doing all this detective work on his own, he had learned so much from Chloe, she was so much a part of who he was, that it kind of shows that even though he may not be vulnerable in that way, he is so vulnerable to her and learning from her and getting things from her, that he can do some of this stuff on his own. I thought that was really cool.
And it was also great that it tied into the other sort of biggest reveal of these final few episodes, other than the god of it all, of course, but that finally Dan has learned the truth, and this unfolded in a way that I didn't even fully expect.
I'm conflicted about this Dan reveal, because I I was really sort of excited when he first saw Lucifer's devil face. I'm like, okay, this is going to go really badly because of the way that their relationship is. He doesn't have any understanding of it. He hasn't spoken to anybody about it. Of course, he came rushing in to try to kill him. That didn't work. And then he just kind of disappeared for a while. It just felt like it got resolved at the fake cave at the zoo a little bit too quickly, where it was just like, he saw it, this is such a huge reveal. Could you imagine learning somebody is the devil? Like, it is such a huge thing that I kind of expected it to take a lot longer for Dan to really understand. And now I get that Chloe was in danger, so Dan had to kind of step up, but watching the hug between Lucifer and Chloe is enough to wash away that this is the devil. I was just like, no. There has to be a little bit more in that.
I'm hoping that there is going to be. I think they could have leaned a little bit more into making this clear on the show itself, because I think they were going in this, okay, Dan's got a big problem. He needs to put his own issues to the side. I did love the scene of him at Charlotte's grave where he was clearly struggling. It's like Kevin Alejandro doesn't really get that many like really good dramatic things to do that are not just him being grumpy or debating about pudding. So it was nice to have that.
Yeah, that was really good.
And yeah, I liked how ultimately Dan and Lucifer did have to work together, and we did sort of bring back Michael was a fascinating character for a lot of this first half of the season, even though it seemed like we would get a little bit of him, then he would go away for a while, and then he would sort of pop back in again.
Yeah, and I'm still really wondering, like, is this just really his goal? Is that he is so mad at his brothers and so jealous of his brothers that this is really just about three brothers having a problem? I mean, I like the sort of family dynamics and stuff, and Chloe said it perfectly when she was just like, Lucifer, everybody has weird families. And I was just like, man, that is really true. And even though they're all celestials and everything, it's like, yeah, they still have a weird family, and they still have some of those real dynamics of brothers and siblings and fighting and, jealousy and everything that humans have. So much so that Dad has to come down and be like, guys, man, do I need to send you all to your rooms?
This is the thing. It is like there is that part of me that is like, okay, I wish that Michael had some sort of more specific motive, and maybe he still does and we don't know about it. But at the same time, it is very much like that petulant brother who is just like, why don't I get anything fun? I have to stay up here and be the right-hand man to Dad, and it's not interesting anymore. There is kind of just this element of maybe Michael is just like this whiny brat who just wanted to wreck his brother's life, and that's it.
I think I would have, and I still do, I just want to know more about Michael in general, because it sort of sounded like he's now sort of the right-hand man to his dad, who's whispering in his ear and getting him to kind of, things have changed up there, and we know that Michael lies a lot. And so now that the dad has come down, for me, that's the biggest part of this cliffhanger that I'm like, okay, does Michael really have his ear, or is he lying? Because he lies about everything.
Yeah.
If he really has God's ear, that's a problem.
Yeah, it's a big problem, and we don't really, I guess with Dad in the picture, we'll find out, but just like, in general, how good is Tom Ellis in this batch of episodes? Because, playing these two characters can be a little bit hokey, but, like, he transformed how he walks, how he talks, how he hunches over.
It was so good. He did such a good job being these two characters and making them so different. The body language of Michael alone made him feel like a completely different person. It was so well done.
Okay, I guess we should get back to God here, because I'll give you my take on it. That I wish I didn't know in advance that Dennis Haysbert was playing him, because
now you're a safe driver that wants to save 30%.
A little bit of that. It is that. I think it would have been such a fun element of surprise, where a lot of people all of a sudden were like, God is the Allstate commercial guy. Like, it would have, that surprise is kind of gone because I knew that he was playing him. It was still a cool way, though, that he was introduced.
It would have been a cool surprise. I mean, but I'm all right with it. I like him. His voice is so cool. It was just, he's a great cast.
He is perfect. I mean, you can't get Morgan Freeman because he's already played God. So but Dennis Haysbert is just as good. Just such an iconic voice. He's foreboding and intimidating and intense.
I just can't wait for the next episodes to come together because I really want to see if he's even gonna stay around Earth very long. Is he just there to pull Michael back up to heaven and be like, I'm done with this is enough? Is everybody going back up? Is he gonna stick around Earth for a little while? How is Chloe gonna deal with this? Is she actually gonna get to meet more of Lucifer's family and actually sit down with God/Dad?
It would be so much fun. I hope he actually has a pretty big part to play in these final 8 because there's so much interesting stuff to get into, and I don't know if we'll ever get how can you get an origin story on God, but still, that's great.
And the main thing with Maze this season, with her wanting to have a soul and figure out who she is, all the stuff with her mom, I really like that they started to sort of dig a bit deeper into this, that her whole other story arc with Eve and then wanting to really make connections with people and sort of facing the fact that she really may never be able to, as much as she wants to have a soul or wants to be able to do this stuff, and seeing Lucifer being able to, fall in love, and seeing Amenadiel be able to have a baby and all these things, for her to then be like, why can't any of these things happen to me? It was a very good season for her.
I think one of the best things about these first 8 episodes is, you look across the board, I think a lot of the supporting characters had really interesting stuff to do. Maze's story was really, really great. I would watch D.B. Woodside do anything but...
So good. He is the absolute best part of the show for me. Amenadiel, everything that he had going on with Detective Amenadiel, I love that episode so much. He is my absolute favorite character on the show. He's so good.
My favorite thing, though, has to be, and the black and white episode wasn't even my favorite, but I loved him as the weird sort of snake oil salesman in the middle of all of it.
Yeah, and the sort of shop of curiosities being like, look over there. Boop! That was so good. He is just amazing. He's a treasure. I love him.
I know. I loved all of that. I think the stuff that we found out about Linda's going to be important. That doesn't feel complete at all. I feel like in general we got a lot covered in these 8 episodes, and I even loved some of the case of the week elements. How much fun must it have been for the writers of Lucifer to do the whole let's kill a showrunner and then try to solve what happened to them.
Yeah, that was good.
There was meta stuff, there was fun, and we know there's still a musical episode to come this season. There's so much still to look forward to.
I also like that they did, for these last 2 episodes, have sort of a killer that goes over into a more of an arc, that there are more than one episode with that, because it is a lot of the times the case of the week. So it was cool to sort of ramp up to this last part.
I think overall we come out of these 8 episodes feeling very, very satisfied, well worth the wait. I cannot wait to see what they do next.
I want to, going into these next episodes, have more with Dan. Dan is sort of was the bit of the part of this season that I wanted to see more, because the first part of the season we had him more into the self-help, and I don't really know what's happening with him with his amethyst bracelets and stuff. I'm like, okay, it's funny, but I kind of want to get a little bit more of him. And it started to come around at the end when he learned about Lucifer, but I am hoping that that's more conversations are going to happen in the next part, just something a little more with him.
Give him a plot like Amenadiel had in Detective Amenadiel, because a lot of that episode was about that character.
There was a lot that I did like about him and his relationship with Amenadiel, where they're both dads. They're both trying to, Dan has a little more experience. Amenadiel's new at this, that there was more of a bonding there. So when Dan kind of disappeared, and Amenadiel's like, I'm calling him all the time. He's just not returning my calls. I don't know what's going on. I was like, yeah, I kind of missed that relationship. There was a lot of cool stuff with them, like when they were both like trying to make sure that Charlie wasn't crying, and they're passing him back and forth and doing all these things. I was like, okay, this stuff I really like. This is a good storyline for Dan the dad.
Yeah, I liked it too, and I'm so bummed that we don't even know when the show's gonna be back for these final 8. They haven't even finished filming them yet.
Why are you gonna say stuff like that?
We still have 8 episodes. We still have a final season beyond that. Originally, this was gonna be the final season. There's a lot to look forward to.
This was a very satisfying first half. There was a lot of stuff that I liked a lot.
Yeah, well, let's hear from you guys on all of this. What did you think about the mid-season finale, all of Lucifer season 5 so far? Give us your favorite moment, your favorite character from this batch in the comments. Also, if you enjoyed this video, give us a like, subscribe to the channel, and support us further by checking those links in the description to our store, to our Patreon, and we will see you here next time.